What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review and discussion is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I read this book when I was an adult instead of a teenager because it just so happened that my English teachers skipped over this book for assigned reading, and not maliciously, most likely. At my high school, English teachers had about 5 to 8 books per section within the school year, and they'd rotate those books so they wouldn't get bored. And I totally get it, because if you only have like one book that you have to teach every specific few weeks, then yes, it's going to get boring real fast. And although I didn't have the best English teachers throughout my high school career, I won't say that they hated Speak specifically, and that's why we didn't ever read it and I had to read it when I was an adult. Though side quest, one English teacher did admit to skipping a few books all the time because she hated the books because she was assigned to read them in like college or something, and she just never liked them. So there is that, but it was just one English teacher who admitted it aloud. And I don't even think that's malicious in the fact that she's trying to censor certain books that are assigned reading. It's just like she hated them, and I understand like you hate a book or two or three in that grouping, and you hate it so much that, you know, it would maybe rub off on the students, and we're trying to, not usually successfully, but we're trying to get students to be engaged in the books. And I think this is a very engaging, uncomfortable read, but I think that's okay. I bring up censorship because it is often challenged and censored due to this novel's topic, sexual assault in high school and the trauma that follows sexual assault. Now, I will be saying the full words, sexual assault, not SA. Sometimes I do say SA for others when I know that it's very upsetting, but not in this instance because sexual assault must be discussed, and that is the whole point of this novel. Now, before jumping into my thoughts and review, I'm going to read the blurb on this particular copy. I think it's the 20th anniversary edition? It's a special edition. But yes, like I said, gonna read the blurb on this one because we need to be all on the same page, and love to see it. The blurb is accurate to the story. Thank you, publishers, for doing the bare minimum. Sometimes the blurb does not match the story, so that's why I say it. Anyway, let's read the blurb. Speak up for yourself. We want to know what you have to say. From the first moment of her freshman year at Meriwether High, Melinda knows this is a big fat lie, part of the nonsense of high school. She is friendless, outcast because she busted an end of summer party by calling the cops, so now nobody will talk to her, let alone listen to her. As time passes, she becomes increasingly isolated and practically stops talking altogether. Only her art class offers any solace, and it is through her work on an art project that she is finally able to face what really happened at that terrible party. Her healing process has just begun when she has another violent encounter, but this time Melinda cannot stay silent. I gave this book 5 stars, and I wish I could have read this as a teenager because I think it would have helped me out a lot. You can absolutely, and you should, write about scary and terrible topics. A skilled writer like Laurie knows how to simplify and keep the topic not as hard-hitting or outright traumatizing for young adult readers. You cannot hide bad things from teenagers or even children. They aren't stupid. They're often naive and sometimes coddled, but that doesn't equal stupidity. They're very observant and pick up on things, especially with their smartphones. They see so much already on their phones on a daily basis. They're bombarded with crap over and over and over again. And honestly, nowadays, you parents, you aren't regulating your children's screen time. So I honestly get very, very annoyed when parents don't regulate the child's screen time, but then y'all want to go after books and try to censor them, which this particular book, it's not graphic at all. You see more graphic stuff online over and over and over again. And I think that is honestly way worse to see and digest every single day, multiple times a day, versus a book where that it's not happening to a person or an animal. It's not real life, but it is, of course, in a way, because sexual assault and sexual violence happens every single day. But this is, I think, an easier form to talk through this topic. And like I said, Laurie knows how to simplify this situation for teenagers and not make it traumatic. Now, of course, it's going to upset people, and not just teenagers. It's uncomfortable. It deals with heavy topics, but we shouldn't shy away from appropriate conversations with teenagers, because yes, teenagers are assaulted all the time as well, from adults, from other teenagers. This is a fact of life, and censoring it and challenging it in public libraries or even high school libraries is a shame. 80% of the book, the reader doesn't even know if the story isn't spoiled for you about what truly happened to the main character, Melinda. And when we get to that part near the end of this novel, it's glossed over in the fact that it really is not shown. It's talked about, but it's not described, therefore not shown. And I think that's why it's appropriate for teenagers. Now, I think at a certain point, we all know, not all, most people know about Speak and the topic at hand. They have updated the blurb for Speak on Goodreads, and I'm pretty sure on Amazon as well, where they will say either sexual assault or rape in the blurb. This one didn't say that, but then again, I forget when I bought this particular copy, so this could have been, an older copy, and then the past couple of years, the publishers have decided to update the blurbs across the board, and that's why we have like a different blurb situation. But this blurb is accurate to the story, and the updated blurbs that say this is about sexual violence, that's even more to the point of the story. This book was published in October of 1999, so I can see back in the day that they did not want to be so upfront about that. And why would I say that? Well, okay. Hold your horses here, because it's going to get disturbing. I don't think a lot of people will remember this after a certain age, or you won't know this point at all. But there were still ongoing debates about if a husband could sexually assault their wives or not. So Speak is an important book, and during the 90s and even the early 2000s, I think you needed that gut punch, as in the blurb is pretty vague when you go back to the 90s and early 2000s. It does not mention outright sexual assault or rape and what Melinda goes through. But nowadays, speaking on sexual assault isn't as taboo compared to the past, of course, but we still have a long way to go, and that's the understatement of the year. unfortunately. So I absolutely recommend Speak for high schoolers onwards. If you haven't read Speak as an adult, I highly suggest you do so. And I think this should be in public libraries and in public high school libraries. I wouldn't give this to a middle schooler, but 9th grade onwards, I think it would be appropriate. Thank you so much for watching my book review on Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I will see you in the next video. Bye!